What's going on there, guys? Good morning, good afternoon to some out there. It's the Earthmaster here on this Wednesday, September 14th, 2022. It is about 11:30 a.m. here along the west coast in California. Latest quake is a 1.5 earthquake shown up here on the Earthquake 3D globe. Looks like out there in the Oklahoma area. Looks like about north of the... looks like right around the outside of the Tulsa area, possibly north of OKC, maybe in between. All right, had quite a bit of earthquake activity overnight, including a large 7.0 earthquake into the southeast Loyalty Islands area. Going to get to all this earthquake activity and more here in just a second. First, I kind of want to cover some more activity, or as far as more information goes, on the activity that struck around the Santa Rosa area last night at 4.4 and a 3.9 on the Rogers Creek Fault. Pretty good shaker in that area. While not a big earthquake, it is primed. This Rogers Creek Fault is definitely primed for producing a possibly a big one at some point here in the near future. So the USGS did put out a little bit of tectonic summary. They do this in areas of noteworthy events, or on noteworthy events. Now, while this is not a large earthquake, it was felt by quite a few folks there in the Bay Area, and it is on a fault that's likely to produce a somewhat larger earthquake. So the Rogers Creek Fault here, the Rogers Creek Fault is a potentially right lateral strike-slip fault. Potentially, huh? Okay. The creep rate is not well characterized, but the fault may be mostly locked with up to 6 mm of creep in places along the northern half of the fault. Fault creep, that's mostly occurring at the pretty much the uppermost part of the Earth's crust along the fault line itself. Stress in the Earth's crust is released with this gradual creeping, so to speak, diminishing the strain and potential energy of a given fault. But we haven't really seen a large-scale rupture here on this fault since about 1715 to 1776. So somewhere back there in that time frame, they believe the most recent large surface rupture occurred on the Rogers Creek Fault. So that's a lot of time built up, right? Now, we throw out these numbers there, 1700 a lot for the Cascadia subduction zone. We know the 9.0 struck there over 300 years ago. And also the southern end of the San Andreas Fault, the very southern segment, is thought to have last had a full rupture down there right around the 1700 time frame as well. So interesting note there is all of these dates with 1700 on it. You know, is it very possible the Cascadia may have triggered, further earthquakes along the west coast? The San Andreas, or did the San Andreas maybe trigger the Cascadia? Either way, it's interesting to note these dates of 1700, far as the last rupture goes for major earthquakes along, certain areas of the fault systems and the subduction zones. Looks like back in 1893, an earthquake near Santa Rosa and a 1898 earthquake near Mare Island are thought to have occurred along or near the Rogers Creek Fault. They don't say, it does say a 5.6 and a 5.7, but that's not the most likely magnitude of a full rupture. Looks like a 27% probability that the Hayward-Rogers Creek Fault system would produce a magnitude 6.7 or larger in the next 30 years. Now that 2003 it looked like, so we're already halfway into that 30 years or more, right? We're definitely within that zone. So watching it pretty closely. Far as recent data goes, let's go ahead and check out the aftershock sequences there that they may or may have not been having here. Zooming into the area. Oh wow, looks like they've updated that. So we did have a 4.4 and a 4.3 basically back to back within seconds of each other last night when that happened. Originally the 4.3, the second earthquake, was a 3.9. But that's a bam bam earthquake. That's like a double tap in the moderate threshold there. A lot of stress built up in that fault system there since about 1700 or so. Looks like there was a 1.5 far as the aftershock sequences go here in the last 24 hours. But that's that's a pretty good amount of quaking there within a short amount of time when we see these two earthquakes like that. And that was definitely felt all over the place, all over the Bay Area. Santa Rosa, of course. Here is the Did You Feel It map showing the extent of the reports coming in. Looks like even up to Roseville, Yuba City. I live up here in Chico. Looks like maybe someone reported feeling it here outside of, it looks like maybe Orland or Corning. But I didn't. And I'm pretty sensitive to earthquakes. So, but around Santa Rosa, Richmond, San Francisco, yeah, the whole Bay Area definitely felt that shaking last night. Along that Rogers Creek fault, a good idea to be prepared, folks. It's definitely something to consider as far as the reports go, and these studies talking about a 6.7 or larger in the next 30 years, and that was back in 2003. That's something to keep in mind. Okay, Bay Area's earthquake country, and just you got the San Andreas Fault there, right? The San Andreas Fault, 1906, the big one, right? But all these other fault systems inland into the North American plate here are definitely worth watching closely. All right, what else we got here along the area? Let's check out the Pacific Northwest first. Looks like a little activity throughout the Cascades, around the volcanoes, Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier. No major unusual swarms occurring. This earthquake right here from last night at 2.6 off the coast of Oregon. We have been seeing a little bit of tremor here yesterday and the days past. We'll check out that tonight, see if it's amplified or not. As far as earthquake activity in northern Cal, not going to skip over this, but this is all basically man-made earthquake activity through the Calpine hydrothermal operations there. Check it out. I've covered this quite a bit. I even went down there and looked at it. I didn't get in the gate, but I'm still thinking about going down there, observing their operations one of these days, maybe when the weather gets much, much cooler. Long Valley supervolcano here. Seen a couple small microquakes, including a 3.0 yesterday that came into this area, but overnight time frame, just a couple ones and a 2.5 in the area of Long Valley supervolcano. Here around the Mina area, Tonopah region of Nevada, little activity as well, including a couple mid-twos. Overall seismic activity here along the west coast over the last 24 hours, pretty active. That's why I'm still leaving the earthquake watch up here for the west coast. Even though we've seen that large 7-pointer out there, I still think we're got to watch the west coast pretty closely. As far as Southern California goes, we were noting some earthquake activity here on the North American side of the plate boundary. This is the southern end of the San Andreas Fault. This is the one I worry about. It is strained up enough, wound up enough to produce an 8.1, and that's going to be quite the shaker down there for the folks in SoCal one day. But I noticed here, since the 7.0 struck this morning, we've seen a little bit of backing off here along the west coast, and it always seems to happen, but it may just be a little temporary pause here along the west coast for now, just not lighting up like a Christmas tree right now as far as the recent quakes go. Some activity up against the mountain ranges here too in the Cedar, Utah area. It's an ongoing swarm that's been consistent for a little while. Not a whole lot of Yellowstone activity. It looks like a couple small microquakes up on the map there. Looking at the Yellowstone overview, we'll pop this up here real quick. And it doesn't look like there's a whole lot. Here's the signature from the 7.0 in the southeast Loyalty Islands area. Notice the kind of that signature. It almost looks like there was two earthquakes there. But those are some S waves kicking up, some surface waves traveling across the earth. And but far as local activity goes at Yellowstone, I'm not seeing a whole lot. Things are very calm currently there at Yellowstone National Park. Low activity in Texas yesterday, not a whole lot this morning though. One earthquake here. That was north of Stillwater. All right, 1.7 near Pawnee, Oklahoma. 7.8 kilometers. And shall we look? Shall we look? You guys know what I'm doing, right? Let's see what we got here. Oh, yeah. Couple oil pumping operations out there. Injection of wastewater and whatnot down there at about 7 kilometers, the typical range. Looks like some older areas here that have been filled in with vegetation, but got to remember the damage is already done there from the from all the oil pumping operations. All right, backing out of here real quick. See what else we got. Anything going on in the east? One earthquake here, right smack dab in the middle of the New Madrid zone. Overnight, 2.1 near Still, Missouri, 7.3 kilometers. Nothing going on across the eastern portion of the country for now. Caribbean plate around the Puerto Rico area. Getting a little swarming up here around the Puerto Rico Trench. You guys see that? Most of this coming in last night, I believe, prior to that 7-pointer. We have seen a couple more this morning, but the majority of these 3s in this earthquake swarm were popping up before the 7-pointer kicked up here thousands of miles away in the southeast of the Loyalty Islands area. Puerto Rico Trench is another hot spot of producing a large earthquake. Little uncertainty on the when it last popped, but it's definitely capable of producing a pretty sizable earthquake there, and no doubt a tsunami. 5.2 Nicaragua area, that one coming in overnight as well. No further activity following the movement over here to the west. 7.0 is pretty large quake, right? A little bit of adjustment, maybe a little bit of stress relief here for the plates, Pacific plate, and also the adjacent plates here that kind of follow that trend of the movement, so to speak, here, west-northwestward movement for these plates anyway. 7.0 struck earlier this morning at about 144 kilometers deep, pretty deep here in this area. This whole area has seen a quite the uptick in earthquake activity, right? This makes what, number 6 7-pointer so far this year, I believe. Not the largest. The largest was this 7.6 that struck here in the Papua New Guinea area just a couple days ago, back on the 10th time frame. That was a pretty large earthquake, the largest earthquake so far this year. But, you know, technically speaking here, this whole area has seen quite a bit of uptick in earthquake activity, a lot. And this is just the last 7 days of 4.5 and above for this region. One area that hasn't seen a whole lot of adjustment here, and you can't really overlook it either, is the Philippine plate. Now, I know we had a lot here last month. We had a couple swarms up here in the Izu Trench and some activity down here, Guam area into the Mariana Trench. But over the last week, look at that, not a whole lot of activity, and we've seen some large-scale adjustment down here through the Java Trench, at Papua New Guinea, Tonga Trench, Kermadec Trench, but not a whole lot at play in this area or the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. So watch these two areas potentially here for some larger scale movement. Today they did have a 5.3 that actually came in overnight, looks like, in the Guam area. I remember that on the update last night. Let's see what else we got. Not a whole lot going westward, at least from this area anyway. South Sandwich Trench did see a 5.1 yesterday, and along with actually this one, yeah, this was yesterday. Over the last week or so, this area has seen quite a few 5s in the mix as well into the subduction zone here. Let's see what else we got. Trident Volcano. Now, the USGS put out a notification here this morning about the Trident Volcano. Let's go ahead and find that real quick here on the volcano hazards map. If you watch my update videos, we've kind of chatted about that area in past videos. You know, any kind of earthquake swarm at a volcano is something to watch, right? Something, and I'm kind of glad they finally put out a little article on it. It's still sitting at green and normal, but they did mention about an earthquake swarm popping off there. Let's see if I can catch it here on this one. Here's some of the earthquakes here in the last 2 to 4 weeks, kind of showing up here around, specifically around the Trident Volcano and just to the west here. It's been popping off pretty good. Not for sure about the numbers. I believe it was over 100 earthquakes or so. Here is an update that was put out by the AVO, the Alaskan Volcano Observatory, put out today. And we'll go ahead and read this just real quick. Not the whole thing, just a little bit, since it was put out. A swarm of earthquakes beneath the Trident Volcano began back on the 24th, and that's about when we noticed it, and is ongoing, but now at a decreased rate. Earthquake depths at the beginning of the swarm were mostly deep, around 25 kilometers below sea level, and became progressively shallower. Could definitely mean some volcano activity, right? Some magma moving up to around 5 kilometers by the August 28 time frame. Most earthquakes have been at depths of between 0 and 7 kilometers below sea level. Earthquake magnitudes have ranged from roughly 0.7 to M1.9. Not large earthquakes at all, but still a swarm at a volcano is something to watch. At the peak of the swarm, dozens of earthquakes were occurring daily beneath the volcano, and over the past week, earthquake rates have decreased to just a few per day. A few episodes of weak seismic tremor and low-frequency earthquakes have also occurred. No other signs of unrest have been detected in available monitoring data. So the increase in seismic activity is likely caused by movement of magma or magmatic fluids. Increases in seismic activity has been detected previously at the Trident Volcano and other similar volcanoes with no subsequent eruptions, but it's something to watch. It's definitely volcanic. We expect additional shallow seismicity and other signs of unrest, such as gas emissions, elevated surface temperatures, and surface deformation to precede any future eruption, right? We look for GPS vertical uplift, big time, if it were to occur. An eruption beginning back in 1953 constructed the newest cone. So that's kind of when the last cone was built. It looks like back in 1974 on the flank of the older complex, produced in ash cloud or ash bombs and lava at various times. 1974, a little bit of time there. So while we're on this, let's go ahead and check out the Trident Volcano GPS monitoring system. I'm just going to go here on this map and check it out real quick. We'll run up north here and see what we got. And I'm sure these guys have it listed up here on the map. There might... I'm not read out. Hold on a second here. We might have to go to the... let's see if we can find the GPS. Let's see. Stand by for just a second here. Where is it? There's so much stuff here. Normally I use the I really don't think I can actually find it on here. Back out of here for a second and see if I don't want to waste a lot of time. Maybe we'll check that out a little bit later tonight, so I'm not wasting so much time looking for it. I'll have it on tonight's update. Far as the GPS stations go, should be able to let's see here. Map layers, I don't see any GPS in there. Alright, we'll come back a little bit later and check it out, folks. Tonight I'll bring it up here, but yeah, it's something to watch. Definitely if there's any GPS uplift, vertical displacement, so to speak, that's a sign of some swelling going on, right? A possible eruption. But we'll check it out tonight. Alright, earthquake activity. I think we pretty much covered everything. Yellowstone not swarming. Space weather. Let's go ahead and check this out here real quick and see what we got. I have a lot of schoolwork still I got to do today, so I'm kind of burnt out on that. But you know what? Input is good. Looks like still crackling here with some C flare as far as the solar flare threat goes overnight. Looks like we did peek up maybe into the M flare category at least once here. Overnight, late overnight. Not for sure. No noteworthy events detected. There's 99% chance of a C flare, 30% chance for an M flare, 5% chance for the X flare category. Looks like 3098 is about the only probable source of these flares, and the X flare potential does harbor a beta gamma class. And notice quite a bit of intermixing here. The magnetic fields. The latest imagery, let's go ahead and check this one out. Get hiccups all of a sudden. Oh yeah. Still shows some complex magnetic fields down here with the blue and the orange very close together. 3088, which is now 3102. This is our former sunspot that's coming back around for a second show, but less active this time. Doesn't harbor anything doesn't harbor too much of a complex magnetic field for harboring any flares. So if anything, it's going to be 3098. It looks like it's growing, getting pretty big there, but it is facing away from Earth, so I don't think we'll have to worry too much about that. There is a little bit of coronal hole activity. 23. It's going to be this one right here, and it is kind of facing us, but it's not really squared up perfectly. I don't know if this is going to produce anything on the 3-day geomagnetic field. Looks like maybe you could get a glancing blow from the flowing high-speed solar wind that is coming out of that coronal hole on the 16th, but only a 40% chance there at the higher latitudes of KP index of 4. Right now things are green across the board. Not a whole lot of solar weather activity to worry about. The space weather, current conditions, real-time solar wind stream. Not for sure what happened here. Looks like it had a huge increase in density out of the blue, but I'm not 100% certain what caused that, and it doesn't look like it did too much there on the KP index, so not for sure what's going on with that. Alright guys, I'm going to jump off here. I do have a lot of schoolwork to do, and we'll catch you guys back here a little bit later tonight. We'll check out that GPS station, see if we can't pick that up. For now though, leaving up the earthquake watch here for the West Coast, just due to the activity we've seen there on the Rogers Creek Fault, Santa Rosa area. I still think might have a chance of seeing some further activity popping up there. I'll leave it up at least for the next 12 hours or so. All right, guys, we'll catch you a little bit later. Have a good day and stay safe out there, everyone. Peace out.